Hello, welcome to 8.9 News. I'm Finlo Costain. Today's headlines. Former Environment Secretary George Eustice says that the NFU failed to show leadership during Brexit negotiations. The Food, Farming and Countryside Commission says that the natural capital marketplace must become more attractive to farmers. And the UN Food and Agriculture Organization says that meat, eggs and milk are an essential source of nutrients. A new report from the Food, Farming and Countryside Commission concludes that many farmers think that getting involved in the natural capital marketplace is too risky. I asked the FFCC's Deputy Director, Tom Burston, to tell me what the risks are and how they're slowing the growth in natural capital markets.
There's clearly a lot of uncertainty on how natural capital markets will contribute to viable farm businesses. For example, these markets will continue to evolve, and there's a risk that farmers in the near future may be asked to account for their own business practices within existing supply chains. If supermarkets and banks ask them to be net zero businesses, if those credits have already been sold off, they may be putting into jeopardy involvement not being able to sell into their current supply chains. There are other risks as well. New money in these markets is looking for additionality, i.e. those benefits that are additional to what is there currently, additional carbon, additional habitat. Farmers would argue that their current stock of natural capital needs to be recognised as well to allow them to deliver those additional benefits. And it's not clear how that's going to be supported.
Now,
and finally, farmers are being asked to negotiate with experts in finance markets who are really adept at designing investment mechanisms, whilst also being a farmer and delivering their day-to-day role. There are ways to support farmers to engage fairly in these markets, but there's a concern that those negotiations would be weighted in favour of investment experts who have the money.
Now, you say that governments need to put in the necessary guardrails to ensure that there's a balance maintained between public and private investments. Now, I wonder what you mean, and what are those guardrails?
Look, this research has talked to farmers right across the UK, and the reality is there's not much action actually taking place on the ground, on farms. It's clear that if markets are going to work, government has a role to play. The UK government has recently published its Nature Markets Framework. It's a really welcome first step, but there's a lot more detail to work through. So the guardrails that we talk about are really those regulations that need to build on this first step. Those regulations might include a harmonised set of metrics, ways to quantify current baselines of natural capital, ways to certify the actual products that farmers are being asked to deliver, and developing common ways to measure progress. We also suggest things like a national ledger to ensure no double payments, or trade standards to ensure and guard against bad advice. Ultimately, and this is a bit more conceptual as well, natural capital markets hold the potential to deliver outcomes for climate and nature recovery, issues that we all have a stake in. All of society want to see that we're responding to the climate and nature crisis well. And it's government's role to protect that public value, ensure that goods that benefit all of us in society, like clean air, clean water, an environment that supports flourishing life is delivered, and a balance between public and private finance is critical to this, as is cooperation across all nations of the UK.
So thinking forward to the future, when these issues have been resolved, what do you think a really good natural capital marketplace should and can deliver?
Look, clearly, good natural capital markets of the future would deliver fair support and fair reward to those farmers who are doing the work that we all need them to do. That is supporting nature recovery, delivering for climate, and continuing to produce healthy food for us all. The markets themselves just won't take off if you don't get farmers engaging. So a good partnership between private and public finance and good supportive regulation that recognises the value of climate and nature-friendly outcomes to all is imperative. We don't have all the answers as to what that looks like, but our report does begin to highlight fantastic ideas that are emerging, such as governance models that support farmers to engage well, governance models like cooperatives or mutualizations. Ultimately, the work of the commission I work for is to point to how all resources need to be aligned to support this agroecological transition, delivering for farming businesses as well as for people and the planet.
Well, that was Tom Burston from the Food, Farming and Countryside Commission. Today's Farmgate podcast is The One with George Eustice. More about this and our other headline news on our website, 8.9.com. That's all for now. We're back on Monday. Thanks for watching.